So, recording is on. Hello, guys, and welcome to November Patreon. So, we will create landscapes. You can see a few here. You may saw those on Instagram, Twitter, etc. Oh wait, I think I already shared them on Instagram and Twitter. Okay. Yeah, we will do some style framing. So we will first create landscapes. For example, that one was a more, wait, I can make that a little bit bigger. If you wonder what program that is, this is pure ref. I can only recommend it for making mood boards, referencing, etc. It's pretty cool. Yeah, this is like more of a more abstract one. I tried out, for example, a different erosion method here. Then those are basically all in like a monochrome context, in a monochrome shading. So really long focal length, one directional light, pretty harsh light, not too harsh, but and yeah, here are some more landscapes, different shaders, procedural mapping. I really like that one because of yeah, it reminds me of like a brutalist architecture style a little bit. I don't know why, but I really like those harsh fall offs and then the combination with like a sand dune rock kind of material plus the black oil like rivers or structures between. So, and you can also go in a different direction with for example something reddish, or yeah, I think we will come up with a few nice ideas and style frames. Okay, but of course we need to create landscapes first. So let me close that. And we are here. For example, you can see one here. Currently, I think that's also pretty nice. Also in like a monochromatic shading. We'll build up a few materials, so we can basically play around with those and try out different shading methods, etc. So we can get a lot of cool visual interest. And of course, we can also play with something more abstract like depth of field in landscapes. So like a lot of DOF landscapes, which is camera wise, real life not that possible. But yeah, I think we will come up with some nice things. Oh, where's the procedural map? There's the procedural one. Sediment, yes. Yeah, I think we will come up with some nice style frames. And I would say we will start building. So let's just close that one here. And I will just move them down here and create one standard material for now. We just pipe that so we can later introduce or rebuild our materials. Okay, cool. So, of course, here are a few cameras, and here are the landscapes. So, we will start with height fields. We will start with those. I will give you like a quick rundown, like maybe on one height field, so you can get a sense of it. It's like basically, of course, with like pretty much all Houdini setups. It's a procedural build-up, and I find it really relaxing to like create those and then play especially with those. And yeah, so I think we should get started. So first we need a height field, and the cool thing is in the height field context you can also pipe like subgeometry in there. So for example a displaced sphere, and create a mask from that. Then you could blur it, apply noise, layer it together with other noises. You can blur it again, you can distort it, and you then can basically slowly see how the landscape will transform. You can terrace it. I think that was a distortion again here. Yes, you can distort it, blur it again and again. You can then erode it, for example. I really like that. Let's go visualization off. So to get those really nice details, you can crop it, for example, to only isolate certain areas. And that's basically it. So that's like a more of a streamlined workflow in my opinion. But of course you can branch off, etc., and branch in. But I think it's pretty straightforward. Or what you also can do, what I also did, is created some really minimalistics, like more of that contemporary look you see a lot of times on, I don't know, Instagram, etc. But yeah, there are a few different methods. So those are really simple, like just a few nodes. And then you can build those up and even larger, of course. So I think enough of the breakdown, and we will get started. So first of all, we will create like a geometry container as usual, and then we can place down the height field node. So let's give it here a null node, because first that you can follow for good. And this will be our in height field. Okay, so now when we press G on our keyboard, or if you got your handles selected, it will not work. So just press spacebar and G to switch to the camera. You can see a big flat plane, but it's basically not a plane. When you go to the information window here, you can see it's basically a volume. So it got a volume 500 by 500 by 1 voxel, and that will accumulate to 250,000 voxels with a voxel size of 2. So you've got your height field here. This is like your initial input. And here you can already see like the size, 1000 to 1000. Those are basically meters. So 1000 by 1000 meters. This here is grid spacing. So when you pipe that down, you can see your height field will get a lot more resolution. But we will start with the default grid spacing of 2, because you can also, what I find pretty nice, you can resample your height field down the road. So you can basically increase or decrease the voxel resolution anytime. And what we can do, we can just start with a simple height field noise. So place down height field noise and connect it to the first input. And you can see we've got basically our first landscape here. So this is like, I think, the most basic height field you could think of. Just a height field noise, and then a convert. So there is the height field convert node. Oops, convert height field. And what that node will do, it will basically just convert your height field into polygons with UVs, which is also pretty nice, of course. Here a few base settings. You can extrude it if you want. You can play with the density, so you could make it a lower density, or you can like pump it really up here. Let's just pump it up a little bit, and you can now see we've got not that much polygons. Let's pump it up to 5. And now you can see we've got, for example, 6 million polygons. And we've got higher resolution, but we also got like artifacts because our height field is not that high in a resolution. So what we could do, we could pipe it up here to a higher resolution, for example. But more to that later. So we'll start with our height field noise, and this resolution is fine. Grid spacing 2, because you can, as I said, resample it down the road. So you got your usual offset parameters, for example, which is pretty nice. So you could also animate it if you wanted. You got your scaling here, element size, amplitude. So all pretty normal parameters. Then you got options between like standard, so FBM, fractal noise, terrain noise, or hybrid out of those. Then of course different noises, Perlin, parodic, sparse convolution, volley, cellular, which is also pretty cool. F2, F1, F1, alligator. So those are like the noise you can use for the build up. And I would like to start with the cellular here. I find it pretty cool. But what I want to do is I want to introduce you to like the second slot, which is the mask slot. And with the mask slot, wait, I can just show you it here quickly. You can basically create mask and then use them in your height field workflow to basically subtract or intersect with the mask, and then with that mask you can control other masks, you can control noise, fall off, and so on. So I find that pretty helpful. So I want that noise, but I only basically want it like in a art directable form. So what we can use, we can, for example, draw a curve. So curve Bezier. And what we can do, we can just draw here our curve. For example, let's do like a P for Patreon. Like a more abstract version, of course. Maybe like that. Oh my god, that's so bad. But yeah. Okay, that's now our P. Beautiful. And now we can basically pipe that into the mask. But before, we will create the height field mask by object. So this is our height field and this is our mask. And now we need to convert our curve to a single polygon. And now you can see we've got our mask here. And now when we pipe that in here, you can see we'll only affect like the P, for example, which is pretty cool. So what we can do now, of course, we can play here, but I find those edges here are a little bit too sharp for my taste. So what we can do, we can just place down a height field blur. So height field blur node, the mask blur, and now we can basically blur out our P here a little bit. Of course, we can go back here and go into the edit mode and then, for example, edit those procedurally, and you can see those changes will directly affect our P here. Let's make that a little longer and a little bit more abstract. I don't know. Something like that. And pipe it in here. So now you can see we've got a much nicer and smoother fall off with our noise. Now we can pipe that up, for example. So let's just go pretty high with that one, because when we later think about a look depth, we can create like a harsh light that will mainly only affect like the top of the mountain, and we can raise maybe the P out with look depth, and yeah, but maybe we'll just like melt it, or we can use the mask for shading, so that's also a cool thing. So here you can now basically play with the blur parameter. Now what I want to do, I want to place down a height field layer. And now you can see we've got a warning because we need a second height field. So let's create those. And what I want to do, I want to invert height field mask. There are several options. So for example, on the mask by object, what you could do, you could just invert the mask. You can pipe that in here. And of course also the blur. Or there is another option, you could remap height field. So height field remap. And we don't want to remap the height, we want to remap the mask. And you could just switch those. So yeah, you got those two methods basically. And let's blur it again a little bit. And create some noise, and I want... That's also funny. I want maybe a Perlin noise. And maybe get it like here. A little bit around with the offset. Pipe that into the other layer. And now, for example, you can go add those two layers together. And now we can play here with our amplitude a little bit. Of course, what you can do, you can also just use a font here and scale it up. That's, for example, one method to get a ladder. Or you can, what I did, for example, in that case, just basically like a simple big sphere with noise on top of it, and you will came up with this more organic mask. But of course that's fully up to you. So now what I want to do, I want to melt those a little bit more together. So I want to abstract the whole thing. Let's use a height field. Maybe a height field distort. Yeah, let's just use a height field distort. I really like those nodes. So, and you already can see, we will merge them a little bit. So that's a cool thing. So height field distort. Now you can play with the amplitude, so you can get really, really high here. I really like that look, especially here in those valleys. Now, of course, the P, yeah, it's a little bit gone, but that will not basically matter. Then you can play with, of course, element scale, a size also here. You can play with the roughness, substeps. So I will go for 3. I think that should be fully fine. So after that, what we can do, we can layer a few more noises together. So let's get another height field noise. And I want to layer that on top, but with basically a really high element size to then manipulate the whole height field in its like amplitude. So for example, something like that. Going down here, yeah, let's go a little bit down with the amplitude, maybe 400. Okay, that's looking cool. After that, what I did, for example, in those more masks, etc., blur it. Oh, terrace. We can try out the terrace. Yeah, let's do that. That was the height field terrace. With that, press compute range, and now you can basically terrace your height field. So you can go with the step size. You can go with the minimum height and maximum height. So let's just terrace like the middle ground. So not too much, just like a little bit. And what I want to do after that, I want to height field blur it again. So now we will not use the mask blur, we'll use the height field blur. And I just want to blur it like a little bit. For example, that was way too strong, just like a little bit. And a height field resample. So now we got still 250,000. So now you can see we've got less, and for example, when we go for 2, we've got 1 million. So we raised our resolution. After that, I will just place down a height field mask clear. So I will clear the mask from our terrace here. And after that, I want to build up again a noise. So height field mask by noise. So we will now mask that, and we will need a few more noises. Let's go for a normal height field noise. Let's go for a distort. Distort by noise. You can also do it by a layer, but let's just get in here the element size a little bit smaller, maybe like that. And what I want to do currently, what you could do, you can, for example, complement it, or you can clip it. But what I want to do, I want to remap it a little bit to just make it a little bit sharper, not an attribute height field remap. To just make it like, yeah, a little bit sharper. So mask. Let's get that thing more contrast. And I want to use that noise here, but only on our mask areas. So just pipe that in here. And now we can play with our noises here. Let's make those like 300, and I want in those areas, now you can, for example, get a higher element size or a higher roughness of the noise in here. And I want to offset like a little bit, and maybe we can play around here. That looks pretty abstract. Want to blur that mask a little bit. Just like 14, I think that's nice. And after that, I want another noise. So height field noise. And let's just not use the mask here. And just give it like an overall more detailed noise. For example, element size and amplitude of, I don't know, 50. Yeah, to just, you can see to just introduce here a little bit more detail. So now let's distort it again. Of course we could use the mask, but for now let's just not use it. Element size, let's just raise it up here. Also bring in the amplitude a little bit. And of course the P is now gone, but yeah. But I think it will still affect the height field a little bit. Let's have a look. Yeah. Okay, now we are good to go for a clear mask again. And what I then want to do, I want to make a height field mask by feature. Height field mask by feature. That's also a cool note. So you could mask your height field, for example, by slope. You can do it by height. So you could compute like a range and then mask those areas out. For example, for snow or etc. You can go for curvature. I like that a lot. Let's go for linear curvature here. And I want to get a little bit contrast in here. Or let's go with slope. No, let's go with curvature. And there's also another node, height field expand. And you can now expand your mask by a given radius, which is also pretty cool to use. So we can expand our curvature a little bit. And what we also can do after that, let's get another blur. Height field mask blur. And now we've got a pretty nice mask to work with. Of course, you can dial down the blur radius like a little bit. And now in those areas, we could use another distort, or we can use a height field erode with that kind of mask. So let's just do that. And I will freeze at frame, let's go 5. And on the erodibility adjustments, where is it? I think it was perceptuation, but I'm not sure. So let's look. Perceptuation, yeah, water flow. Yes. Let's just raise that a little bit. So maybe 0.85. And the removal rate, I want to 1.5. So those values, of course, you can try those out and play with those values. Erodibility. Let's go with mask on. And you can then, of course, paint a mask or choose the mask. But I think if a mask is already... Yeah, okay. Let's just get it here for a few frames. And that will now basically erode the surface. Or will simulate our surface. So you can see we'll end up with, for example, something like that. Wait, that's the wrong height field. So let's just reset the simulation here. Yeah, it's way faster. Perfect. And let's go for freeze it like on frame 10. So it will now cook to frame 10. But what we also can do, we can play that. Well, let's play it here. And you can see how like the riverbeds fill up, how the water will erode over time the surface. So let's freeze it on frame, I don't know, 20. And what I want to do, I want to, let's just go for, I think I did sediment here, right? What we then can do, for example, we could convert it to get a first look. Oh, that looks cool, those eroded beds. Of course, we will play with another setting soon. And I want to go on density. Let's go 1.5. Yeah, let's go higher. Let's go to get like a few million polygons. Of course, you can also bake that down in displacement if you want. 6 million, that's nice. And now if we look at our geometry spreadsheet here, you can see we've got our sediment, for example, we've got our debris, water flow, etc. And those are all basically not in a perfect range to use for mask. So what we can do, for example, I want to use sediment for now. And let's just use a null here, out height field 1. And I can choose my sediment here to display. As a visualizer. And I think the older visualizer was blue, white, RGB. That was... No. Wait. That was in the middle. Yeah, something like that. For our sediment here. No. Let's just reset the viewport quickly. And now what we can do, we can... No, in max, yes. Okay, the values are there, but the mask... Let's just color that thing in, because I think... Was it sediment? I will look again in a minute. Sediment. Yeah, okay, we need to clip it like more. Okay, that is basically currently our sediments map, which looks pretty cool. There are of course other maps or attribute we can use. For example, water. Let's use the water. That would be like the water one, so it will basically run down and collect in those little seas. Then we have, I think debris is also pretty cool. Let's look at that. Debris. This is our debris layer. You can also remap that later, of course, which looks also pretty cool. Then there is the bedrock, of course, the cliffs. I think cliffs is also pretty cool. Let's check that out. Cliffs. Okay, lol. Okay, this is our cliffs layer. Of course we could use that. Okay, so we got now, of course, multiple layers to work with. I find like sediment is like a pretty good choice, because you got also like those ramps here. Let's just go for 3. A bit higher resolution here. But yeah, let's just use sediment. I want sediment, and I think debris was cool. Yeah. I will just use those to remap them. And then we got them for shading, for example. So what we also can use, of course, we tried out currently one erode. So let's use another erode node and play with that. So what you can do, you can really pump that up here on the, basically on the water. So you can, this is like the amount of rainfall simulated on each frame. Let's go for 0.5 removal rate. I don't know, 0.25. And let's not use the mask. And reset the simulation and have a look how that will differentiate. I can pipe that in here. And yeah, we got a lot of more deeper river beds here. I really like those when you look from the top. Those river, basically river beds that will be created in the simulation. from top down, from basically the top of the mountain down into the valley. There are, of course, also the hydro, the thermal solvers, erode solvers, so you can try them out too. But now what I want to do, what I usually do, I take the complete height field, and then what I will do, let's just go here to frame 10 so we don't erode too much. I go on manual, and what I will do, I will just basically, you can also do that with tops. What I want to do, I want to randomize all the offset values and just have a look what that will mask by noise. Let's just also remap that. Height field noise, also remap that. What that will give us. So find that a pretty funny and surprising way to then get your basically a new height field with new seeds, basically. Of course, you can also do that with tops and then generate like 100 different height fields and make like a flipbook out of those and view. Oh, that's pretty cool. Like that. And the cool thing is now what I want to do, I want to make it maybe not so high. So now I can art direct it like a little bit more. So we got here a distort, maybe we will not go so high on the amplitude here. We got our terrace, let's compute the range again here and let's remap that. We've got that again, so that will make basically a lot of depth. So let's go only 50. And let's do here the erosion again. So reset simulation. Yeah, and now we are also coming up with a few nice I'm currently trying to find like a cool spot to render. I find that area here pretty cool with that higher mountain. So the cool thing is what you can do now. You can basically extract a piece that you want. So height field crop. This is the height field crop node. Not down here, I want you up here. And with the height field crop, you can now basically crop your height field. So, which is pretty cool because you now can basically focus on an area that you want to further manipulate. And what we can do here, we can make a resample. We can, not a progressive resample. Height field resample. We can resample the shit out of that. So let's go 2. I think that would be like a million. Yeah, let's go 2.5. And now feed it into here. Let the solver run again. And convert it. Now you're really talking about detail. So that's pretty cool. If you like then crop it, and I think we've got some pretty cool detail here. So yeah, be sure to like crop it. Of course, we need to remove that. So let's just clip it again like a little bit because it's currently basically out of the values here on the right side. So it's clipping there. So just let's move it in like a little bit. So right about here. Okay, okay, that's fine. And let's do that again. Just erode it. Let's look at the time. Yeah, easy. And convert the height field. Yeah, that's better. I like that. That's cool. What you can do if you find that those are a little bit too harsh, you don't need to, you could smooth some of those polygons out a little bit. So just drop down a smooth node or before the convert a height field blur node, and you can smooth them out a little bit. You could go up with the filter quality a little bit if you want to do. But yeah, that's of course fully up to you, and I do that sometimes to just smooth it out a little bit. So not to lose like any detail basically. For example, we lose a little bit of detail here, but yeah. We can also of course move it before a little bit. But yeah, you can also do it like after that. So with that done, we can now try to get a conversion into our material library. So we can basically create a few materials and start shading those. I really like that valley here. Of course, what you also, if you find that a little bit too much, you can also go to, I don't know, maybe frame 4 and let it resimulate. Let it resimulate. Another cool thing, what I will show you in a moment. Yeah, now you got a little bit less. And you can also go down with the perceptuation. What I wanted to show you, you can also get a height field displays by layer. So you could feed in another layer, or there is also, I also use sometimes the height field distort. Wait, height field distort by, nope, where is it? Height field. Not mobs. Sometimes we are all a little bit lost in the Houdini nodes. Where is it? Wait, height field. Height field object? No. It's like a displaced by object. I think did I use that here? I don't think so, unfortunately. Cut out by object, height field. I want to find that for you all. Cutout? No, it's not a cutout by object. I can't find it. Where is it? Oh, there is it. Height field project. Oh my god, Tim, that was yeah. The cool thing is now you can use basically subgeometry to displace your height field. I thought the node was called height field displaced by object, but it was height field project. Yeah, we project basically our object onto our height field. So what we can do here in that scenario, we can use a polygon, a sphere, for example. Of course, you need to make it much bigger, or you can play with the match shape and just scale it up then. But what you can do, you can then place, for example, a WOP here. And let's go high here, so 100 to get a lot of detail. And let's get a displace along normal. Just quickly create a noise. Let's go anti-aliased noise on the amount, and let's raise it up here. Well, let's just do it with the amplitude, and let's get really small here. I don't know. Amplitude. Let's go for something like that, and frequency. Amplitude. Yeah, let's go for something like that, and then you can pipe that in here and in here. And now you can basically create subgeometry, maybe copy them over scatter copy the points via scatter node and create like a basic form of height field. And I find that pretty cool because you then can use, for example, not the transform. We want the real transform node on transform, not the soft transform, transform. Now you can basically transform those, and it can be really art directable. So if you want, for example, here one thing, and you want on the edge the other thing. And what you then could do, let's get that whole thing. Let's get a new height field here. Let's do a new iteration. You could copy like the whole thing from, let's do it from here. And what I want to do is to pipe that in here. And I want to add a second layer on top of that. Of course, that would be too much. So let's go for the standard sparse convolution. And what we also can do here, overall transform and just transfer them a little bit down. Or we can just use one, and I think in the center would also be cool. Yeah, let's just use the center here and make a really high mountain. And let's just give it a go and let that run down here. And let's have a look how that will turn out. Oh, we need to crop it, right? Blur it. I think that should be everything. Oh my god, everything fine. But yeah, with that, I think you can come up with pretty cool ideas. Okay, that's maybe a little bit too high, but we don't care basically. Failed to cook. Why? Oh, now it's cooking. Maybe what we could do, we could erode that thing fully down, for example. Let's just convert it. Of course, this move takes a little bit. Yeah. I think that's pretty cool. It looks like a little bit like a Minas Tirith from Lord of the Rings. Not quite there, but you could, with a lot of fantasy, you could get the idea. But yeah, you can project those onto the height fields. Let's do a more, well, let's do a little bit better of our example. So what I want to do, let's just use the sphere here. So let's use the sphere as an initial input. And what I want to do, I want to decrease the amplitude here. And I want a grid. Let's place down a grid here and go 1000 by 1000 and a scatter node. And I want to scatter, I don't know, maybe 20 of those. No, let's go rule of odds. I want 27. Relax iterations, let's pump that down, give it a different global seed. So we got our points here. And now I want to copy the points. Our points and the geometry we want to copy. So this is now the geometry we copied. And what we can do now, let's get an attribute wrangle, and I will just quickly get in here a random p-scale modifier. I think you already know that and how it will work. Or you should know it, because that's like one of the most basic things. And let's just get another attribute randomize. And what we will do, we'll just randomize the normal inside a sphere. That's like the quickest way to get random rotation onto your copied object. You can change the global seed here. And now we can project that down. That will take a little bit of time. Yeah, now we got something like that. We need to go a little bit smaller. Let's go for the overall scale 0.5. And let's go here 0.25 for the minimum scale. So that those are a little bit bigger. And for iteration purpose, let's go just 50 to make things a little bit faster. And I want more. Let's go. Nice. Why not? Let's go with that. And we can then add our fields together. Let's go for, I don't know, I find that pretty nice without this. And let's go for the full thing again. Let's compute the range here. We don't, let's de-terrace the top and the bottom maybe a little bit, I don't know. And let's maybe not crop it, because we want like the full thing. Yeah. We want the full thing. We get some noise, we get distortion, mask by feature. Height field expand. Blur, okay. Resample. Those are now 6 million. Yeah, that's fine. And let's just reset it here. And have a look. Let's have a look how that will look. I think that would be too many polygons. I don't know. Let's just convert it. And I want a sip of my tea. because my voice gets a little bit crackly. Yeah, I think that's a lot of polys, but we don't give a fuck. Yeah, okay, 24 million. That's not that much, but it looks pretty cool. So that would be like another way to generate like an initial input for your height field, and then further iterate on that input. But what I want to do, I want to get with that one here started with shading. Let's go with the shading. And what I usually do after that, I will just match it basically to the same size. So here's my little a little match size, and this is like 10 by 10 by 10. So of course it's then not realistically big, but I find it way easier to then do look depth, camera, etc. And here's my little material node that will apply the Rs matte landscape, which is currently just a normal material. So yeah, this is now our current landscape, or let's just, how many we've got here? 6 million. Let's just not use the height field crop node and just go with a null node here, branching off in the resample. And let the simulation fully run over like the full height field. Let's see how that will look. Currently smoothing it out. Think that will be also like a lot of polygons. Yes. I don't know how many, but let's just have a look how that height field will look. And especially then in shading, etc. Come on. Okay, how many do we got? We've got 24 million polys again. Yeah, but looks also pretty cool. Let's just look with the visualizer. Okay, that looks cool. But let's just go for the smaller version. Of course, we could also use that. We can just, or with Redshift, you could easily render that if you wait like a little bit to start. With Octane, I think with 23090s, yes, I could render that, but I think Octane will crash maybe at a certain poly amount. The cool thing is you could also convert that into a proxy. That would be also a method. Yeah, let's just convert that again to the smaller version. think I need to reset the sim. Let's just run that down again. And yeah, okay. Now we are on the cropped version. Yes. Okay, this is now our cropped version. And just clear here a little bit the cache. So we are here on our crop version. We've got our material aside. So just create as usual as every time a material network. And I already created here a bunch of cameras, and let's just create one new camera. And I did a wide here with expand aspect ratio. So now let's get first a view, and what I want to do, let's just get a normal, I don't know, 6x7 or 6x6. Let's go for 6x7. Or like, let's go like a really standard one. Go for full HD. And now what I did place two lights here. So basically a hard light with a really small spread amount and a soft light with a higher spread amount. So I think you then can get like pretty surreal landscape images. And let's start just our first render. So nothing fancy, one light. And our camera that is currently, well, it already looks pretty cool. That is currently not the right one, so let's switch to the latest camera. Yes. And you can see it's also like a pretty long focal length. So maybe you are like a landscape photographer that will photograph it with professionally with a helicopter and I don't know, a medium format or full frame camera with a long telezoom. And yeah, now the cool thing is we can basically start here to view our landscape in, for example, also different light conditions. Of course, this is like the really hard light and we need to replace it maybe. But yeah, let's just go with maybe also a sunlight. Here are sunlights. Sunlight 1 and sunlight 2. But let's just go with the soft light. I like that. And you can see the height field is pretty highly reflective, so this is not quite realistic. Are here really a few really nice angles here to compose this shot. Okay, so for example, we use that shot here. And what we can do, we can now build up our procedural material. So first of all, what I want to do, I want to import, for example, let's just have a look here. The debris, the bedrock, or the sediment. Let's go with the sediment. So just copy the name here or type it in here and connect it to our surface output. And what we then can do, we can remap it a little bit, for example, with color or with a scalar ramp and then into a color ramp. So just go with a scalar ramp. And you could also like switch it to invert it basically. But yeah, that would be our ramp here, for example. Let's just use that. And what I want to do, I want to get the roughness higher here. Should just get away from that glossy look. And I want a normal RS color ramp. And just pipe that in here, and you can already see we can create some cool looks. So what we can do, we can play now with our inputs here. For example, for the color. But what I wanted to give it like a little bit of, that looks already pretty funny. What I want to do for breakup, breakup is to play with our base color a little bit. So what I want to do, I want to introduce like a maxo noise here. And go on, I don't know, Luca. And I want that maybe on that frequency. And I want another, for example, displays turbulence. Let's go a little bit higher and get like octaves 8. And let's copy those again. And I want, I don't know, a turbulence, got a pretty lot of detail, and maybe one larger, maybe the sparse convolution. And what I want to do, I want to composite those noises together. So for example, that on average, and maybe let's do that also on average or multiply, I don't know. Let's do that on multiply, and just to basically compose like a few layers of color to then use that as a bump input. Just get a little bit more a surface detail. And you can see it's of course way too high. So what we will do, we will scale it a little bit down. Or maybe 0.025. So you can have a look here, for example. I think that could be a good amount. And this will be basically our bump input. And now what we can introduce, we can reintroduce our ramp, for example. Let's get like a desaturated color here. And I like that look already a little bit, but I want to increase separation a little bit. And the cool thing is what we also could do. Yes, let's get like a Let's get a material blender here. And what I want to do, I want to blend two materials. So basically our main material here as a base color with a sediment material. So we will use that as a blend color. And just to test it out, we can quickly get that in here and, for example, make it red. So now we've got two materials blended together. And what I want to do, let's just get that. Let's just rearrange that a little bit here to make it look good. We invested time in our layout. It's always good. And what we then can do, we can, for example, get like a, I don't know, like a metallic look on our sediments here to make it a little bit more abstract. Let's go dark, but with color. Let's go like gold rivers. And let's desaturate that a little bit and shift it a little bit more into the orange field. And what we then can do, I want to get a color imperfection on our main color of the height field. So R's ramp, let's just place it down. And let's have a look on our color. That's way too smallish, in my opinion. So what we can do, we can just introduce a little bit of detail here. And I want to contrast that here a little bit. And I want to ramp that. Let's just ramp it like a little bit. And I want, now you can introduce like, what was our color? That was our color here. Now we can introduce a few more color variations over our landscape basically. Let's go with one more desaturated and grayish tone. Type that everything together and let's just reload it quickly here. And we've got a pretty cool looking landscape. What we can do, I don't like that color. It's a little bit maybe too saturated. Let's shift it in a reddish direction and desaturate it heavily. I really like that backlit view here. Let's just go for that. But let's go here with a desaturated darker color. And what I want to do, let's just disable the soft light and make a copy from the hard light. And let's have a look. So we are here, let's start the render again. Let's start the render. And of course you then can pipe it up to like, I don't know, 20, 30 million, depends on your graphic card, or you can then, of course, write it out as a displacement, for example. If you want to do that. Yeah, this is now like the really harsh light. Let's just go into the camera. Let's zoom out a little bit. So I want to lit that area here. But from the front, basically. Yes, from that direction. That's a pretty cool look. I like that. That's pretty cool. And of course you can play here a little bit to, I don't know, get it more abstract, etc. I find it pretty cool. Yeah, so I think that's pretty nice for now. And what we can also do, it's just, I don't like those. I think they are a little bit too harsh. So let's just desaturate them again and get it in a more sandy point of view. I like that. I like that. Of course, now you can iterate with your height fields, etc. and then play with materials, play with colors. Make subtle changes, make drastic changes, that's fully up to you. Cool. So, I hope you enjoyed that session, and if you got some nice renderings, etc., be sure to just like leave me a message on Instagram, Twitter, Patreon. Send it to me. You can also post it on Instagram, and I will of course repost it. I will repost it. Yeah. So I hope you liked that, and I hope you will come up with some nice wireframes. And yeah, just to be sure, iterate on your landscapes. Try to find a nice balance between geometry detail, bump mapping, normal mapping, or displacement mapping detail. Don't get maybe too complex. Also try simpler setups. Yeah, so I hope you liked it, and I will see you in the next one.